Good news and bad news, Commander. The outcome of the war wasn't changed. The Soviets have surrendered. The bad news is, Yuri's still at large. The world leaders aren't taking any chances. They're meeting at a classified location to sign the treaty with the Soviets. Per the General's orders, restrict...
Good day, Lieutenant. Where is this top secret meeting of world leaders?
I can't.
Tell me.
London, England. Parliament building.
What the blazes is going on? We've got an unauthorized transmission. Cut the satellite link. Well, blow it to Kingdom Come if you have to. Out of the frying pan into the fire. Since he can't clone the Allied leaders, he's bound to try a more direct approach. They're meeting in London right now to ratify the treaty with the Soviets. Get to London ASAP, Commander. And you, get a medic out to the lieutenant.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by. Incoming transmission.
This is a very important meeting, Commander. If this treaty is ratified, the Soviet forces will join us in the battle against Yuri. We'll set up our defenses by the Parliament building. My money says Yuri will launch an offensive from the east. He might even sneak down the Thames River. We've got to build us an impenetrable air and sea defense. The leaders are already arriving. If they get killed or mind controlled, everything we've done up till now won't mean diddly. Comprende?
You don't want the Vice President running the country, do you? I'm Premier, you know.
Battle control online.
Sir, yes, sir.
Welcome back, Commander.
Wow, some action!
By now, you should already know the score. When dealing with Yuri and in an urban environment, you should be garrisoning your buildings, build your base, and have something to explore.
Right away, sir. Move!
Construction complete.
Now, you're given a couple engineers to begin with, kind of as a safety net. If the Parliament building ever takes enough damage, well, toss an engineer into there and make sure that it doesn't explode.
New rally point established. Building. Training.
There's a few things about this map that you won't really know unless you actually go out and explore. You're given some time to play around with, so you should do that.
Unit ready.
Securing position. Driver up. On our way, sir. Weapon ready. Ready to roll. Good to go. Destination, high Commander? Speed, low drag. I have
Unit ready.
The oil derricks over there on the right are worthwhile to take, however, not as safe as you might imagine. It might get glossed over later on in the video, so I should probably mention it right now. Those oil derricks, they're nice to have, don't get me wrong, but the explosive barrels nearby kind of guarantee they'll explode. I tried a couple times to see if I could capture them and protect them, or maybe just destroy the barrels first and then capture the buildings and repair them, so on and so forth. Nothing really seemed to keep them in running condition, so be aware of that. It's also important to note that IFVs are probably the strongest unit you can have in this scenario at the moment.
Incoming transmission.
Unit report. IFV ready. Yes, sir. Outstanding.
You cannot win, Commander. Soon the fool Romanov will be dead, and the Allied leaders will be under my control. Soon you will beg for my mercy and forgiveness. Perhaps you will live as a mindless slave. This might amuse me.
Unit ready.
Well, considering I'm like one of the best generals in the Allied forces, it's probably a good idea to mind control me and then use me in the event you need to plan for a further offensive. You know, like XCOM.
Squared away, sir.
On hold.
But getting back to the oil derricks, there's a little bit of an issue on my part in that I didn't really garrison the right building. You should probably garrison the one higher up, but that sort of happens, and, well, yeah, that just kind of sucks. Anyways, it should also be mentioned there's a workshop up above, which is important to take if you want to have any sort of vehicles, since it gives them the regenerative capacity, or capability, I should say. Now, as I mentioned earlier, IFVs are kind of really strong in this map. One, they're cheap, they're fast, so if anything ever comes up, you can kind of rush them over, not really have to worry too much, and they do a good enough job against lashers and Gatling tanks and so on, especially if you have density of numbers. Now, I kind of feel like this is a problem with the last, with this map and the last map, namely that there's just not enough funds lying around. On the Clones Down Under map, you didn't really have ore fields that lasted very long, and in this mission, you kind of have to prioritize getting a lot of units out. There's just not enough to invest in getting more money. And there's certainly no gems around, so you can't really speed up that process. Now, you face some continuous attacks, which is, again, why you want to have a lot of units dedicated in buildings. And sadly, just due to the length of these videos, I kind of have to gloss over the initial introduction of a couple units. Now, first things first is the UFO, which is why it's really handy to have IFVs.
Unit lost. Unit promoted.
I have to admit, the first time I played this mission, I kind of lost to the first two UFOs. Turns out if you don't really have anything to defend against them, you're kind of screwed.
Unit lost. Unit promoted. Unit ready. Insufficient funds.
There's also, again, that annoying part about how Gatling tanks just slightly outrange garrison buildings.
The president is there.
Our base is under attack.
Ready to roll.
Just makes them annoying to deal with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Out. Let's show what we got. Solid and ready, sir.
Unit ready.
Don't let Parliament fall, Commander.
Unit report. Bound forward. Yes, sir. Commencing assault. Ready to roll.
Now, another another vehicle that we kinda saw was, I believe it's called the Mastermind. Those two things.
Our base is under attack.
Basically, they act as vehicular mind control devices.
Build up the defense.
Unit lost. Unit ready.
As with Yuri infantry, it's one of those things where you really want to prioritize getting units to destroy the host vehicle or unit before, doing anything else.
Battle control offline. Incoming transmission.
That was some fine work, Commander. The treaty's been signed. We've tracked down the location of Yuri's London base. Soviet forces will be joining us any time now. Use them. Burn that base to the ground and scatter the ash.
Reinforcements have arrived. Unit red. Battle control online. Construction complete.
And with the treaty signed, hopefully with Canada signing in the right spot this time, we can advance on Yuri's position. Sadly, I was kind of hoping that the game would give you enough units so that you could kind of just, I don't want to say breeze through it, but not really have to delay things too long. You can probably guess that that's not what happened. sadly, there's nothing that you can really do with the amphibious transports either. There's no... how do I put it? There's no sort of platform, there's no ramp, nothing to really get around the target base, which is kind of one of those things about the map making that I really preferred in Tiberian Sun. Just the idea that there's destructible cliffs and other things that you can just kind of get around an enemy base. Now, partly, this is also a little bit of my own deliberation. Of course, you can play this however you want, but whenever you're facing Yuri troops, for myself, I always just want to make sure that I actually have enough units. It seems a little wasteful to me to, you know, waste even more time if an attack doesn't go well. So, overwhelming firepower is typically how I want to go.
The quicker the better.
Now, all that said, it's, again, goes back to how this map is actually very money poor. There's just not very much in the way of funds. And considering that the only other ore fields that are readily accessible anyways are way up in the top left corner, you don't really have the capacity to build there until you get an engineer, and you don't even get access to that area of the map until after Parliament is safe. Anyways, you get the gist of it.
Chrono Miner reporting for duty. In the blink of an eye. Okay.
Now, at least there's that trick that you can do to kind of speed up a little bit in terms of transportation, but otherwise it's the same sort of problem. Everything just takes too long to recuperate from the earlier portion of the mission. And considering that Yuri's going to have, as we'll see, a lot of mind control devices, you know, it builds on itself to be a slower mission.
Structure garrison.
So this becomes one of those scenarios where I want to use my dreadnoughts to actually damage stuff, but I can't really take out the Gatling tanks that are just barely preventing that. I don't really have much in the way of other naval vessels, I guess. Scorpions don't reach. Destroyers I don't think would be able to reach either. I forget if I can even build aircraft carriers at the moment. So you're kind of just stuck with two dreadnoughts, and you might as well make use of it. Oh, I do get aircraft carriers. I mean, in any case, it's one of those... Aircraft carriers are nice. Probably won't be able to get as much out of them as you'd like anyways, considering all of the Gatling turrets all over the place. And again, that sort of thing that's really annoying. So the best thing I can really suggest is make sure you don't ever come against some masterminds. Try to plan your attacks so that you're able to take out the control towers, and if possible, use dreadnoughts in interesting ways in order to A, get missiles to land before they ever even get shot, and to draw away Gatling tanks so that you can then reshift your position where they're not covering and do the whole dance all over again.
Vehicle ready.
I mean, from the look that we can see of Yuri's base, he doesn't really have much access to funds either. And while AI usually gets a bonus to their income in games like this, they don't have infinite money.
Unit ready.
So yeah, after you take out a lot of the control devices, you don't really have to worry about too much. Obviously, there's still going to be a lot of units, so prism tanks in large numbers are going to help out. And, well, at a certain point, there's not much to really even worry about in terms of units. Destroy all the production, and, well, the AI uses the nice tag.
Unit ready. Unit lost. Chronosphere ready.
I'm sure I've mentioned it, but drone tanks can actually crush infantry, which is kind of strange to me. Them being hovering and all.
Abandoned. Mission accomplished.